Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use coroutine in ViewModel, and then we'll make the API call, and then we'll get the data from the API, and then we'll display it on the recycler view. So let's get it started by adding some dependencies in our project. So first of all, we need to use the retrofit too. So I'm going to use the retrofit to make the API call. So I'm adding that dependency first. And since we are going to use retrofit, so we need a converter. So going to use the JSON converter. So I'm adding that dependency now. And in this video, I'm going to use the Picasso just to show the thumbnail on the recycler view. So I'm adding that dependency. Also, we are going to use the view model. So I'm adding the view model dependency. Let's apply and sync and go to our build.gradle file. Here we need to add one more dependency that we cannot find over there. So I'm adding it manually. So I'm adding the coroutine dependency over here. That's it. And we need to sync, and then we'll go back to our main activity. And since we are going to make the API call, so I am adding the user permission, or the I can say internet permission, in our manifest file. Now I'm going to create a class that is for the retrofit. So I'm adding a retrofit instance class. Instead of separately, we'll make it a package, and then there we are going to move that class. So it's better to keep it in the separate package, the network one. Inside this, I'm creating a retro service class, that is interface actually. In retro instance, I'm creating a companion object. Inside it will be defining the URL, and then we'll create a separate function to get the retro instance. This is the GitHub URL, and I'm going to use that. As I said, I'm going to create a separate function for getting the retro instance. Here we'll pass the base URL, what we defined just above, and the converter factory. So converter factory, we just added the JSON converter, so we are going to use that. Inside our retro service interface, I'm changing it to the interface now. We need to define a function, but that function need to be defined as the suspend function, because we are going to use the coroutine, so it should be suspend function. And this is the get API, and here we need to define the repositories. And inside it we need a query parameter, so I'm defining a query. That is going to be the string type, and this is going to return a data class. So I'm going to define a recycler list as our data model class. I'm creating a separate package for that. Inside the models package, I'm going to keep or creating that class. It's the same name. and this class is going to be the data class. Here what parameter we need to have, we'll check the URL and see what is the response we are going to get it. Here is our JSON which will come inside the response, so it's going to return me the items, array of items. So I'm keeping it inside the array list of certain another data class. So I'm giving it as a name recycler data, and inside data class we are going to just display the name, description, let's get the exact name, it's here, description. So make sure to copy paste though we have the same name, and we need to pass it inside the array list type. We're going to use the avatar URL, so it is inside the owner class. So let's define another class as the owner. And it's going to keep the same name of the string type, and we'll pass this inside the recycler data with the same name as owner. There you go. Now I'm seeing the red line, that is error. Okay, I missed the colon. It's done now. Let's go to our main activity and add a layout. I'm just adding a linear layout because we are going to use the fragment over here. So I'm just simply adding one layout instead of directly adding the recycler view. So in this video, we are going to use the fragment, and there we are going to add recycler view. That's it for this layout, and now I'm adding a fragment, empty fragment, giving it as a name recycler list fragment. You can give any name, but I have some default parameters, and so I'm not going to use. So I'm just simply defining a function where we are going to add the fragment to our fragment manager. First of all, we need to create a instance of our fragment. So we already have a function over there that is the static, or we can say companion object. So let's check what is the function name. It's inside companion object, that is the new instance. So let's copy it and use the same function. But I see that is taking two parameter, but we don't need to pass these any data to the fragment. So I'm removing all this. So in case you need to pass some data from one activity to fragment, then we can use this. But since I'm not going to pass anything, so I'm removing all the parameters. Okay, now we need to get the instance of fragment manager. We can directly access that. And now we need the fragment transaction. That we can get from the fragment manager dot begin transaction, that return us the fragment transaction. Here we'll pass our fragment, instance of our fragment, and then we'll call commit. That's it. So this will simply add our fragment to our main activity. Now I'm creating a view model. As I said, like we are going to use the MVVM, so I'm creating a separate view model as the main activity view model. You can give any name, so it's doesn't matter. And it's going to be our recycler type. Inside the init block, we'll simply initialize it. Now I'm creating a function which is going to return this live data. Based on this live data, we'll be setting up our observers. And now this function will be responsible for making the API call to our GitHub search. So this here is view model scope dot launch. That is going to be the IO type. So this is basically the function for our coroutine. So it's basically creating, if it's making the API call in the ION instead of the main thread. And this function will return us the instance of retrofit. This function need a query, so I'm passing some keyword, and that will return us the response, that is the recycler list. And now we'll call post data, post value, and the response. That's it for our view model. So let's close this and go back to our fragment, and we'll write the code for our fragment now. So first of all, we need to initialize our recycler view. So I'm creating a separate function for initializing a recycler view or the view model, and we'll call it from this on create view. We don't have any recycler view currently in our layout, so let's add that. So I'm simply changing our text view to recycler view, and I need to remove this text, and we need to give a ID to this recycler view. We'll use the same ID here, which is going to return us the recycler view. Now we need to add linear layout manager to our recycler view, so let's add that. We need to show a separator, or we can say a line between each row. So I'm adding a item decoration. If you don't want, then you don't need to do this step. We'll set it to the recycler view again. Add, there should be add item decoration, yes. Now as you know, recycler view works with the adapter, so we need to set an adapter, but we don't have yet. So let's create an adapter, separate package for adapters, where we are going to keep it in our project. Inside that, I'm creating a separate class for my adapter. I'm giving it as a name RecyclerView adapter. You can give any name based on your project. So now I'm implementing my adapter. This is the array list which is going to hold the data which you need to display on the recycler view. So this is going to be the type of recycler data. Now you need to inflate the layout. Dot inflate. Here we'll be passing the layout. So we don't have a layout. Let's create our layout file for our recycler row. And this bind function is going to have the recycler data as the data. We'll call it from the onBind view holder, and that is going to be based on the position which is currently on the visualize. Let's add our image view. As I said, like we are going to use image view, we are going to implement the Picasso on that. So I'm adding a image where we are going to use the thumb URLs. Also, I'm adding another linear layout which is going to have two text view on it. This text is to display name and description. Here we are going to set the data to our text view and the image view. Now we'll be retrieving the URL. So based on this URL, we'll call Picasso here. Here we need to set the URL into the, we'll pass the image view. That's it. It's easy. Now we'll set our adapter to our recycler view now. I'm creating adapter as a global instance. And here I'm going to get initializing the view model. So from here we are going to actually call over all the functions of the view model, and then we'll set up the observer. We'll check if recycler list is not null, then only set the data to our adapter. Otherwise, show a toast to our user. If there is no data, retry due to any reason, then we'll show this toast to the user. And then we'll call our ViewModel function make API call. That's it. Let's run and see. So there you go. We are able to make the API call successfully, but I'm seeing some UI issue like image is a little bit big and text is not aligned properly. But good news is like we are able to make the API call and get the data. We see some UI issue. We can fix it from the recycler list row. We'll set it to the gravity to the center vertical. That's it, and let's run and see how it look like. There you go. It's look better than previously. So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.